Hi, and welcome to Dinim, number 27. I am your host, Rabbi David Katz. Are you guys ready for a special edition of Dinim? Yes or no? All right, we're going to make this a little bit lightning fast. We have a lot of ground to cover. This will be an official response to those that say there's no Ger Toshav today, and my response to that there is a Ger Toshav today. Type 1. This class is useless because if you really want to know the answer, you need to contact Russell Kirk or Jacques Kotze and request a copy of Ger Toshav Today translation of Rabbi Aaron Soloveitchik's Od Yisrael Yosef Ben Ichai, which clearly states that there is not a Ger Toshav today that is called a Ger Toshav Gamor, the Jubilee Ger Toshav. Do I need to repeat that? There is not a full status Ger Toshav today. Do I need to repeat that? What we do have today is something called Din Shel Ger Toshav. It is not the same as a Ger Toshav Gamor. It does not need Yovel. Then the question becomes, well, what does the lesser category give you? And that's what, at the end of the class today, we should have a little bit of that. And then there are those that are even more, a little bit difficult in their personalities, and they want to say, even the Din Ger Toshav doesn't exist today. I.e., if I have a piece of treif meat, and standing before me is Justin Becker and a Nachri, a full-fledged Christian, do I have any right whatsoever to choose Justin over a Nachri? What do you think about that? Do I have any right to choose Justin over the Nachri? And the answer is yes. If Justin keeps the 7 laws and a Nachri transgresses openly through Christianity, Justin is considered a Ger Toshav, a Afilu B'zman Hazeh, and I have a right to give Justin over the Nachri. So we find with the Nevela, the treif meat, there is what is called Din Shel Ger Toshav. That is not the same as Ger Toshav Jubilee. So to say that there is no Ger Toshav today means that if Justin and the Christian stand before me, they're both considered Christians, and I pick the winner of the meat through eeny, meeny, miny, mo. If I have wine in my home, then if Justin is around my wine, it's considered idolatrous wine because there's no Ger Toshav today. Now that is a ridiculous statement. The Shulchan Aruch and all law authorities will say, if there is someone keeping the 7 laws, a Ger Toshav, they can guard your wine, as opposed to an idolater Nachri. Everybody rules this way. There is no division or argument on this. The classic nomenclature for somebody who keeps the 7 laws, we go by Avodah Zarah 64b Ger Toshav. Now that halacha there has many layers and dimensions. You could say it's the same halacha to make a Ger Toshav Gamor, or it's the same halacha of what makes it relevant to do mitzvah l'chiyuso, to sustain the ger. Just because we say that the Ger Toshav is someone who keeps the 7 laws, that is not a static argument. That halacha goes all the way to the top. Meaning, is it 7 laws established through Jubilee, through Kabbalah, through a personal acceptance? And for that, again, I direct you to Aaron Soloveitchik's work, or look into it yourself, or better yet, understand the way the oral Torah works. Do I have to keep repeating? Nobody is suggesting Ger Toshav Gamor, i.e. Jubilee. Now we'll look to one of our favorite friends, Dr. Michael Schulman of Ask Noah. And he publishes the following I will even show you the link. Okay. Somebody writes to Ask Noah, quoting Rambam 8, 10, and 11, which clearly says there's a Ger Toshav today. Jacques, there's your source, Rambam 8, 10, and 11. The question to me was, can Rabbi Katz show me a clear source that there's a Ger Toshav today? The answer is yes, I can. It's called Hilchos Malachim, chapter 8, halachas 10 and 11. That is the Rambam. Then you'll say, but the Rambam says there's no Ger Toshav today. Okay, he does say that in Asuri Bia, chapter 14, halacha 8. Can I get a 1, please? Can I get a 1, please? Now, you just heard me say, the Rambam says there's no Ger Toshav today. That's not even what it says there, but we'll pretend that's what it says, because that's in English what I just said. In Asuri Bia 14:8, type 1. What it really says is we are not Makablin today. Type 1. We are not Makablin Ger Toshav today. The whole question is, what does the word Makablin mean? Everyone thinks it means we don't accept Ger Toshav. That's English. And he doesn't say, Ein Matzav Ger Toshav Hayom. He says we don't do Makablin. Isn't the whole emphasis on what does the word Makablin mean? Type 1. We will get to the bottom of Makablin later on today in this class. Did I mention that we're not Makablin in Hilchos Malachim chapter 8, halachas 10 and 11? No, you didn't hear me say that. You guys know why you did not hear me say that? How about because it doesn't exist there? How about because it doesn't exist there? Type 1. So now, either the Rambam implies that here, or he doesn't say it intentionally. What do you think? Is it implied? And I'm just confused because in chapter 14:8 in Asuri Bia it does say it? Or is it intentionally not here? I.e., are there tzvei dinim to Ger Toshav? Is Ger Toshav in classic Brisker method subject to tzvei dinim, 2 laws? How many of you have ever read Hilchos Malachim chapter 10, halacha 9, and halacha 10? A goy that keeps Shabbos is chayav misa. The very next halacha calls it a ben noyach can keep mitzvahs. Is that an accident in the language change or intentional? Okay, it's intentional. Now you asked me for a clear source, and I've given you a clear source. But what you'll say is it's not clear. Chapter 10, halacha 10 is not clear because chapter 10, halacha 9 makes it not clear. I say 10 is 10 and 9 is 9. It's clear. What do you think? Do we go by actual clarity? And then we look to the deeper books of wisdom to understand the contrast in clarity. Why does 10 say 10? And why does 9 say 9? Or do we assume that 10, which looks clear, is actually not clear? Because somehow 9 makes 10 not clear. This is the whole debate, ladies and gentlemen. 10 is clear, and there are people taking 9 and saying, see, 10's not clear because 9. That's like saying Jacques lives in Cape Town. Rabbi Katz lives in Modine. And that's not a clear statement because Rabbi Katz is friends with Jacques. Rabbi Katz is obviously not really in Modine. Type 1. I remember when I put the soulmazel.com website up years ago. I have a Las Vegas American phone number because my family lives in Las Vegas. So someone was spreading rumors years ago that I do online conversions. This is before I even got involved in GER, ironically enough. And I charged $1,500 for conversions, apparently. So they checked out, there was some kind of, a guy who I know on Facebook. We became friends after it because it was comical. But they thought I was a shady character because of this. Someone was using my name, Rabbi David Katz. And the day that they were investigating, my website went down because we rebuilt it. So I remember someone was saying, Well, this Rabbi Katz character, when we went to investigate, and look at that, he takes his website down. And they said, not only that, he doesn't even live in Safat. That's how they call it, right? Safat. He lives apparently in Las Vegas. It's like, oh, you got me. Wow, you guys got me on that one. Man, I really shouldn't be that shady. You really got me. Right? So this is the whole debate right here in these Rambams. Hilchos Malachim, chapter 10, halacha 10. Very clearly says a ben noyach can do them any mitzvah from the Torah. Halacha 9, a godik Shabbos chayiv misa. There are those that will say what I just said is absolutely clear, that halacha 10 doesn't really mean what it says because 9 says something different. And Rabbi Katz says halacha 10 is halacha 10, halacha 9 is halacha 9, and you need to know what does it mean ben noyach and what does it mean goy. Now, also know that these are not innovations from the Rambam, but they are copy and paste. Right? Copy and paste. 9 is a copy-paste from other sources, and so is 10. Rav Aaron Soloveitchik will tell you what a ben noyach means in Hilchos Malachim 10:10. Ben noyach, as to say, not a ger toshav gamor. And that is explicitly written in Od Yisrael Yosef ben Ichai. Okay. So again, Isuri Bia 14:8, Ein Makablin Ger Toshav. Some will say that clearly means we don't accept Ger Toshav, type 1. Rabbi Katz will say we need to know what it means, Ein Makablin. We're not Makablin. I say it's clear. It's clearly written, Ein Makablin. What else could it say other than what it says? There are those that will say, it is clear, we don't accept them. Now, they will explain that to you in an English language to a passage written in Hebrew. They will say what Rabbi Katz calls clear is not clear. What they say is actually clear. And what Rabbi Katz says is they are making it up. It is actually quite clear. Now, for background information, Suri B of 14:8 goes with 9. There's 7, 8, 9. 7 says exactly a copy and paste from a Suri Avodah Zorah 64b. Who's a ger toshav? He who accepts on himself 7 laws of Noah. And why is he called toshav? He's allowed to live in Israel. That's Yisuri Bia 14:7. 8 will say Ein Makabin ger toshav ela b'zman she'yovo noyig. There are those that inappropriately think 8 explains 7. They don't realize 8 is a precedent to halacha 9. 7 and 8 have nothing to do with each other. One is talking about ger toshav, b'zman hazeh, and goes on to call them chasidei omos ha'olam. So then if 7 is 7, 9 is talking about the ger toshav eved, slave, what is 8 going on about? By the way, Rabbi Aaron Soloveitchik deals with this in the Sefer as well. Jacques, you need to start promoting the Soloveitchik work more to those that want to argue these points. There's no point, type 1. There's no point in arguing anymore with a ger toshav, so to speak, a Noahide, Rabbi Katz. Argue with Rabbi Aaron Soloveitchik. If you choose to not, then what are you really doing? If you choose to ignore it, what are you really doing? We will explain what Makablin means. Again, 14:8 in Hilchos Malachim, chapter 8, halachas 10 and 11. That does not mention we don't makabel. Is that an accident? It is clearly omitted here. And there are those that will say that clear omission, Rabbi Katz, is actually not clear. Does that make sense to you? George Carlin has a joke. Some people say things that don't make sense. We're going to pre-board the aircraft. Does that mean you want me to get on before I get on? Type 1. Does that mean we get on the plane before we get on the plane? So chapter 8, halacha 10 and 11 doesn't say Ein Makablan Ger Toshav El B'zman She'yovo Noyig. And there are those that are saying it really does say it, but Rabbi Katz isn't acknowledging it. Rabbi Katz is reading it absolutely inside and taking all commentaries into account. Am I missing something here? So based on the Rambam, Ask Noah was asked the question, apropos, asked Noah. And the director, Michael Schulman, the head man of Ask Noah, quotes Rabbi Moshe Weiner's Sheva Mitzvahs Hashem Sefer in its introduction that according to Rambam's laws, follow along, you all have the link, in the Rambam's laws of worship, I'm just going to paraphrase here, no one can be accepted into the full Torah law legal status of a Ger Toshav. Now that's all in English, and the Hebrew is a little different, but let's just pretend that it works, right? In the Rambam Hilchos Akum 10:6, it says there's no Ger Toshav except for Jubilee, type 1. And apparently here, the Rambam in chapter 8, Hilchos Malachim, is saying there is a Ger Toshav. So at least someone's asking the question. And here's Michael Schulman's answer. Here we see that there's a distinction made between the actual Torah law legal status called Ger Toshav, which according to the majority opinion of the Rishonim rabbis, including Rambam, can only be conferred on a Gentile during a time when the Yovel is observed. Here's a trivia question, everybody. Does Rabbi David Katz agree with that statement or disagree? And I can be quoted here. Everyone type. Do I agree with that or disagree with that? In every teaching I've ever taught about Ger Toshav. Let's hear it. Type the word either agree or disagree. Okay, so if this is a cult, then this is pretty fantastic, because somehow if it was supposed to be the other way, I would say I disagree. But we all know I agree. And why do we all agree? Is it because I want you to agree, or is that just the way the law is? Is anyone typing their own opinions here? No, that is how the law is. By definition, it's not a cult or a new religion. It is giving over the Torah law as it is. Copy and paste. That's how you do it. B, an honorary title Ger Toshav, which may be used by and applied to a Chassid Amos Olam even nowadays, since he is conducting himself in the manner of a Ger Toshav, and it is obvious to everyone who knows the halacha Torah law, and this does not mean that he literally has the legal status of a Ger Toshav, since that does not exist in our time. Does Rabbi David Katz of Modin, Israel, formerly of Sfat, Israel, agree or disagree with this premise and both premises together? Go ahead and type. Agree or disagree? Everyone? Jacques, Justin, Loretta? Okay, I agree. So if I agree and I teach this, and Ask Noah agrees and teaches this, why are there those in the Noahide camp that say what Rabbi David Katz teaches is wrong? Can someone please explain this to me? I don't understand. The only difference is that I am teaching Ger Toshav stuff in Torah to people who identify with B, the honorary title Ger Toshav. The Torah is filled with non-convert, non-Jewish Ger material. And I am teaching it to people that in some way identify with that material, i.e., no Jew can identify with that material. You will never meet a Jew who can eat nevela, type 1. So there's a Torah law that you give nevela to a ger toshav, type 1. Let's pretend that even that mitzvah doesn't exist today. It does exist today, but let's pretend it doesn't. Is it appropriate to teach that law to a Jew on a practical level? I'm talking about in terms of, is it relevant or relative to a Jew? It is not. A Jew does not eat nevela. Now, I'm saying a Jew can learn that, but you're not going to teach that law to a Jew so that a Jew can go out and eat nevela, correct? Can a non-Jew eat nevela? Can any non-Jew eat nevela? Can a convert eat nevela? No. So we have a law that a non-Jew, let's just call it a non-Jew, eats nevela. And there are non-Jews that learn the Torah. There's no prohibition of a non-Jew learning Parshas Rei and the meaning of the verses in Parshas Rei. And in Parshas Rei, an nevela is eaten and given to a ger toshav. Is it not a natural inclination for even an honorary title holder ger toshav to learn about Parshas Rei? Then there are those that will say, but do we actually give the nevela to a ger toshav today? Like what is the halacha? What are the parameters? How do I know if it's a ger toshav? Good question. And that's not what the reason why we teach it is. We're not interested in teaching the halachas of ger toshav in Jewish communities. We are at kindergarten level in terms of where the world is at with ger toshav. Where we are at is, ladies and gentlemen, there is something called a non-Jew in the world that elevates, that keeps the 7 laws, who believes in God, is removed from Avodah Zarah, rejects Shituf, and there's a Torah law that such a non-Jew, you have a mitzvah by the Torah to give him nevela. Nothing more, nothing less. Nothing more, nothing less. Where that story continues, that's for tomorrow. Does everyone understand that? Reality has caught up to that place in time. Right? There are now 7 law-keeping non-Jews and Jews with nevela. You know how a cliffhanger in your favorite TV show, right? It's like the Jew has the meat in his hand, and before the Jew is a Noahide, so to speak. And what happens? Does he give it to him or sell it to him? Tune in next week in these adventures of the nevela series, right? Type 1. That's where we're at. We are at a freeze frame right there. And we're learning it in Parshas Rei. And we are getting ready to give the nevela. One day, God willing soon, with the coming of the Messiah, that piece of meat will be given over. God willing. And there's a lot of examples of that meat, isn't there? Many, 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 many examples of these people keeping 7 laws and the meat, so to speak, being given over. Many such examples. In fact, the Torah is filled with these examples, is it not? Of the righteous non-Jew and the Jew in relationship to them, and the Torah laws and mitzvahs in between the two. And what the mission here is to describe those 2 entities of people and the nexus between them. Type 1. That's what this is about. Then he continues, those who are interested in the halachic discussion should read it inside Rabbi Moshe Weiner's book. Now, is there a ger toshav today, according to Ask Noah? 1 or 2? Are you all capable of reading English? Do you have the intelligence capacity to read English? Or am I coercing you into this one right here? Are you smart enough to read English and comprehend? Okay. So can I rely on you then to read this English for yourself? Or do I need to put it to read it to you? So you're smart enough to read. So are you saying it is your opinion that that Michael Schulman of Ask Noah agrees that you have the right to honorarily accept upon yourselves Ger Toshav even today? Are you capable of making such a calculation and decision by reading this text by yourself? Yeah? Okay. Well, then that was pretty easy. So then he says to go into Rabbi Weiner. So let's go into Rabbi Weiner. And there it is. Number 8. Just like he says, Ger Toshav Bizman Hazeh. Does everyone know what that means? What is the law of Ger Toshav today, so to speak? Das Rambam she'ein mekabelin Ger Toshav Bizman Hazeh. Ela Bizman she'yovel noyik. Everyone know that line? Right there it is. Hilchos Asuri Bia or Avodah Zorah in the Rambam. We already explained his opinion. She'ein kablasam bifnei beis din Yisrael mishana klum. We've already said that Kabbalah and Beis Din doesn't change anything for the obligation of the 7 mitzvahs and for the merit to be called Chasidei Amos Ha'olam. I.e., if you take a Kabbalah of 7 mitzvahs, it teaches here that does not make you commanded in the 7 laws or more commanded or affect your merit to be called pious among the nations. Does Rabbi David Katz concur and teach the exact same thing? There is no benefit in one's obligation or merit of being called pious. Okay, so apparently I agree with this, and I do agree with that. The Inyan Kabbalah Zohu Rak and Sarah Schluyi Shalem B'Tay Yisrael L'Hatir Lehem L'Yashiv Eretz Yisrael. This Kabbalah is only the merit to be able to live in Israel. V'chein nira medivrei kesef Mishnah shekasav the Rambam shafal pishekim b'chabasan. Ger Toshav is banazem v'komogam even b'nai get miatzbuk. Ger Toshav the kiyam zayim mitzvahs b'nei noyach. That all you're getting is a permission to live in Israel. Now, I don't know where he's going to go with that, but assuming that's all he means, do I agree with that or disagree with that? Meaning you're really not getting anything tangibly more with a Kabbalah other than the right to take the oath, be called Ger Toshav, not changing your obligation, or if you're pious, and the only addition is allowed to live in Israel. And what I'm saying the addition is, that is your attachment to Ger Toshav in the Torah, even if you want to call it in the time of Mashiach. Either way, being called a Noahide is not in the Torah, nor pious of the nations in the Torah, but Ger is in the Torah. And if this is one step closer to understanding Ger and Torah, then it's a step worth taking, 1 or 2. V'chein nira das Rashba, Torah Sabayis Abayis Yosef, Zela Shonav Alod Tzrichi Lakabel Yivnei Shlosh Chaverim, El Yinin Lichiyusa Bovav, V'chein nira das Toisus Amiri. The Kabbalah only gives you the mitzvah l'chiyusa. That only through a Jew sustaining a Ger Toshav, that is what you need Kabbalah for. So are you aware that if you want to take Kabbalah, it's not the same Kabbalah that obligates a Jew to sustain you? Are you aware of that? 1 or 2. Does Rabbi David Katz teach the same thing? One or two? Yes, Rabbi David Katz teaches the same thing. However, Svaras or Ramban in Ritva, Dein ben Noah Chashuv Mitzvah v'Oiseh. A Noahide is not commanded in doing. Ela im ken kiba alav ifnei based in Yisrael v'az nikra ger toishev. That the Ritva and Ramban say that you're not commanded in doing unless you take Kabbalah, which is a little bit different than the previous opinion of the Rashba and Miri. Nira Pashas Kavana Sam de Gamis Manazeh. According to the Ritva and Ramban, also today, that means that the Ramban and Ritva are not the same as the way a whiner understands Ramban. Venira Pashas Kavana Sam de Gamis Manazeh. And if we say like the Rambam that we're not makablin ger toshav today, ben noy liskabel ki ger toshav the chasios olam is manazeh. What is he saying there? The im sphere like Rambam the im makablin ger toshav is manazeh. Ia shar le benay noy liskabel ki ger toshav chasios olam is manazeh. So according to the Rambam, you cannot be the fullest level ger toshav today with Kabbalah, type 1. And apparently that is different than the Ramban and the Ritva. They want to say that even the highest level ger toshav you can be today with Kabbalah, type 1. Avoim soivrim karavid, Hilchas Yisrael 14:8, the Polygon Ramban Imakabas Virle, the Makabel ger toshav is one zeh. And apparently the Ravid, who argues with the Rambam, would agree with the Ramban and the Ritva. But we don't know if the Ravid makes you take Kabbalah. Do you just be a ger toshav the Ravid, or do you have to have Kabbalah? The Adarabah midistam hilchos asari biyashan the ger toshav who ragli niladish you be just really Yusuf the hani v'shut v'rashba. Diver below is divelay and mashma the smichim the Ravid the rashba as far as the Rambam said the ain and yigabal ger toshav al asbal old zayin mitzvahs like they're based in inyan the chiyuv gamar b'mitzvahs al inyan hayim yigar gazidam was oilam. What's he saying there? The Indian ger toshav who ragli nil hadi yeshivas over Eretz Yisrael ba'aretz l'chiyuso v'hadi v'shut rashba divrei v'lo yisi v'lei mashal the maskimim the Ravid or Rashba the Zvaras the Rambam zeh the Indian gabals ger toshav al atmo ul zayin mitzvahs they based in Indian l'chiyuv hagamar b'mitzvahs v'le Indian im yikra chazidim was oilam. He's saying that the Ravid is like the Rashba that. One second. Is he saying that? One second. But the time is sorry be a shan waiting your toshav rockly you know hati she was aware but arets ul chiyuso hati was shoot the rashba divro below is le mash for the scheming Ravid of a rashba was varas Rambam mazed the ain in kabbal's ger toshav al atzmo ul zayin mitzvahs like they based in right that you do not need the Kabbalah to obligate yourself in the 7 laws. Inyan l'chiyuvo hagamar b'mitzvahs, or inyan im yikre chasidamos ha'olam. So you don't need the Kabbalah to obligate in mitzvahs or to be called pious. And the Ravid would agree with the Rashba. And the Ramban and the Ritva would disagree. And the big question is the Rambam. Type 1, if you followed that. Rambam, we don't fully get yet. Ramban and Ritva want you to take Kabbalah for the highest level ger toshav. Miri, Rashba, and Ravid will say there is a ger toshav. Probably not with Kabbalah. Or at least the Kabbalah doesn't obligate you in your 7 mitzvahs or being called chassid. The Rashba will say it's mitzvah l'chiyuso, and Ravid will give you permission to live in Israel. Nimsa das Haramban. Veritva. The Gar is one is there, even not right to the Kabbalah Outsmo, all Sheva Mitzvahs, but Shlem is Likra Gir Toshav. Allow the Kabbalah Outsmo, all Sheva Mitzvahs, leave them based in Israel, Shel Yisrael Dafka. V'chein das Shut v'Sheva Koyin b'das Rambam. So there are those that understand the Rambam that you can take Kabbalah today to properly obligate yourself in the 7 laws. Aval das Rambam, according to the way Rabbi Weiner understands the Rambam, Vishar Rishonim, the Einot Tzarich, and the rest of the Rishonim says you don't need to. So the conclusion of Rabbi Weiner is you do not need Kabbalah today. You have 7 laws that you're required in, and you have to fulfill them. Type 1. If you fulfill them, according to Rabbi Weiner, you are called a Chasid Amos HaOlam. Are you allowed to take Kabbalah today? And ceremonially, as Michael Shulman wants to say, and call yourself Ger Toshav for doing this? You're not getting Mitzvah Chiyuso. Let's even say you're not allowed to live in Israel. I don't know if that's true, but let's just even say that. And you're not obligating on yourself more, and you're not a special chassid, despite all of those things that do not come with a Kabbalah, are you allowed to take Kabbalah and to be just called Ger Toshav? And nothing comes with it extra except the right to be called Ger Toshav even today. 1 or 2? So has anything changed? Has anything changed here? So what's the problem? What is the problem? Now, keep in mind, the only real problem that people are debating and what's going on with Rabbi Weiner here, we don't know. Hear me out. This is important. The whole debate is we don't know what Kabbalah potentially can give you. Type 1. We don't know what the Kabbalah brings you. Does it save you from death? Does it give you Israel? Does it give you an obligation? Does it give you mitzvah l'chiyuso? All of those would come under the category of Ger Toshav Gamor with Kabbalah. So what the rabbis are doing is saying the following. Are you all B'nai Noach? Type 1. So you have an obligation of 7 laws given to you from Adam. Type 1. That obligation was stamped at Sinai. Type 1. At Sinai, the reward of one who was commanded in doing was removed from you. Now, before you type 1, understand we're going to do that in about 10 minutes, but type 1 in the meantime. So then the Jewish people have a mitzvah to go and bring 7 laws to the world. Type 1. And when they do them for the right intentions, according to the Rambam, they are called a pious of the nations. And apparently, on the lowest common denominator, you are allowed to accept them on yourselves properly. Type 1. And if you take that Kabbalah, you are saying that today we don't understand what Kabbalah brings in a time where we don't have a Jubilee. Type 1. And we're aware that maybe it would bring some extra benefit, but since we don't know, we still wish to take our Kabbalah for the sake of being attached to the empty vessel term Ger Toshav that does not technically give us anything. What it gives us is identity, satisfaction, pride, joy, love of God, and an ability to identify inside the Torah, which are not connected to the oath or Kabbalah, but only in concept from logical deduction and reasoning. And even that doesn't bring or yield anything. It is a spiritual connection, and that spiritual connection is the most important of all. And it is a right given to mankind. One or two? Okay. Now, what does Makablin mean? How many of you have heard me say the word Kabbalah? Okay. So Makablin means we force Kabbalah on you. When I say type 1, am I being Makablin you? The answer is yes, type 1. But what if you just by your own volition, as I'm typing, what if you just wanted to agree? Are you guys allowed to agree with me even if I don't even make you? If you just feel like typing 1, could you type 1? If you just wanted to. Everybody, I went on a walk today. The sky was blue. Imagine if someone just said, yeah, the sky is blue. I agree. So I didn't make you agree. You happen to have agreed. Makablin means we make you take Kabbalah. Because we have the land of Israel, we don't want idolaters, and I'm going to make you stop serving idols. Are you allowed to stop serving idols by your own volition if we don't make you? And can you take a Kabbalah with God because you simply love God? Now, another definition of Makablin is employment or investment. Right? Imagine when you take pay for your job, you're being Makablin. Now, it's not a monetary thing, right? Loretta, if I want you to organize my office, type 1. You're going to fly here and organize my office. And it goes without saying I'm going to pay you because that's obvious, type 1. So if we agree and we set it up, focusing on the words set it up, will you be Makablin in my office? Meaning, are you an official employee and you're in the system? That's what Makablin means. It means you're in the system, not monetarily. That is obvious. If you do work, you get paid. What we're saying is we don't have a working system of Ger Toshav, except for Jubilee. And the system is based on Kabbalah. And we explain what the system is. Chiyuso, obligation, all these different things. We do not make the system run except for Jubilee. But are there other benefits that are not required by a system? Guess what? I'm not employed by the system either. I am a Cohen, and I am not employed by the system today. There's no third temple today, type 1. I'm not a working Cohen. There's very little I can do as a Cohen. Does that mean I shouldn't call myself a Cohen? Or that I'm not a Cohen? There's very little anyone can do today because of exile. That's why we gravitate towards who we are, and we identify in the Torah, and we are working collectively to bring redemption and Mashiach. When there's Mashiach, the Ger Toshav is a working member of Israel. He will be forbidden to be a Shabbos Goy, and to use him as a Shabbos Goy would be a very grave crime. Today, people want to remain ignorant, which they can. The Ger Toshav of today doesn't have the right to say, I'm Ger Toshav XYZ. The Cohen doesn't have that right today to say, I'm Cohen XYZ. But can we honor a Cohen if we wish? Yeah. Can we employ a Ger Toshav if we wish? Yeah. There's no reason that I cannot give Justin Becker a piece of treif meat and then go around and sell it to a Nachri. There's no prevention. And one can even say, I just did a big mitzvah in doing so. But if Justin has 7 laws, I don't make him take Kabbalah, so I make him take my meat. Type 1. Now we're going to go into the Brisker Rav. Because everyone knows that I hold by the Brisker Rav when it comes to Ger Toshav. Type 1. The Indian Ger Toshav, that is not, his Kabbalah is not the same as the conversion Kabbalah of a Ger Tzedek that is made, that makes him Israel and obligates him in 613 mitzvahs. Before your Kabbalah, you were obligated in 7, type 1. Did anything change before or after Kabbalah in your obligation in the 7 mitzvahs? No. Nothing became new. There's no new obligation for you, is there? The only Ger Toshav din is you're allowed to be in amongst us in Israel. Type 1. The only thing that you get with Ger Toshav is an attachment to Israel. Any of you ever hear of Nilva? Fourth house of Israel? And the easiest example of that is living amongst us in the land. And that's what you get an additional din, nothing else at all. But that's only the time of Jubilee. Don't we say that the fourth house Nova Ger only fully attaches at the time of Jubilee, i.e. the time of Messiah? Yes, we do. And the Ramchal prophecies and calls it Geulas Ger. When Ger is finally fixed and attached, then you have a Messiah. But I wonder about this. But there are some laws that are only shaykh for a Ger Toshav and not a Jew nor a Ben Noach. Is there a difference between Ger Toshav and Ben Noach, Jacques? Type 1. The Ben Noach shaharei b'shagig naharig the Ger Toshav goyle. A Ben Noach who kills is killed, and a Ger Toshav who kills is exiled. The Chelin Yinadin the Kinayim Pagayim Bo, the Varbaram Dina Noyev Ger Toshav, Od Rabos Kaele. There's many laws like this. Hari the Kabbalah the Nasa Al Yada the Ger Toshav Chadsha Dinim Gamlin Ger Toshav Atzmo. The Torah Chalakav and Ger Toshav LeBen Noach. The Kabbalah makes you with different dinim that separate the Ger Toshav from the Ben Noach. And that's what we teach, is it not? Type 1. Are we saying that these laws are applicable today? No. No. We don't kill people at all. There's no death penalty. So they're not applicable. But does that mean they don't exist in concept? And if you go against your Kabbalah, you're like a regular Ben Noach. Everything goes by your Kabbalah. If you're in a state of Kabbalah, Ger Toshav. If you're not in a state of Kabbalah, you can go back on it. It's not a conversion like a convert, and you go back to being Ben Noach, type 1. Aval kol zman shehu oime b'Kabbalah sohari ha'Torah nitna lo dinim v'chalaka beino v'bein ger ben Noach stam. The whole time that you're in Kabbalah, you are not a Ben Noach. Ulefize gam hach dina. The Enger Toshav Noyeg Elvas on Yo Noyeg, who Gam Kela Indian Kola Dinim, Shagir Toshav Chaluk Behen Bishar Benay Noyeg. The time applicable that you are not a Ben Noyeg is the Jubilee. So again, Lefize Gam Hach Dina, the Enger Toshav Noyeg Elabasman Shayoivel Noyeg, the Jubilee Din, who gam kein le'inyan kol hadinim, that is also one of the dinim that exists, that separates from Ger Toshav, from Bnei Noach. Do adas Rambam, ikar din hu de b'shah she'ein yovel noyeg, ein makablin, in a time where not Jubilee, we don't make you take Kabbalah. Type 1. The Rambam says no Jubilee, no Kabbalah. That means today, everyone is a regular Ben Noach. We don't have the trigger mechanism to separate. Type 1. The Inyan Magi Mishnah, the Hilchas Asuri Biyash, Akasav Gamkin, Pashu Kain, Badasa Rambam. This is the Rambam's view. Ulam Dasa Ravid Achiris Bezeh. But the Ravid disagrees. Derech le'inyan dinim yuchtim hu the taloi b'zman sheyovo noyeg. Das arrived at acheres bezed. Derech le'inyan dinim yuchtim hu the taloi b'zman sheyovo noyeg. Only the laws that are directly applicable to Yovel do not exist today, according to the Ravid. And if it's not Jubilee Din, then you are a Ger Toshav today. Type 1. But the Rambam is clear and the Ravid is clear. Do you want to know the difference between the Ravid and the Rambam? The Rambam in Yeridea says we don't go out and convert people. Because the local, and I say convert, I'm talking ger, not convert, right? We don't make ger today. Why? Because when you invade a country and you take their people and make them ger, they get a little bit upset. And the Ravid says, Rambam, why are you calling that ger? We're calling that allowing them to fulfill their mitzvahs. You understand the difference? The Ravid says a person is allowed to do their mitzvahs. The Rambam says by making them ger, people get upset. So the Rambam says, don't make them ger. Don't make them take Kabbalah. No makablin. Ravid says it's not an issue of Kabbalah. It's not an issue of making them ger. It's an issue of letting them do their mitzvahs. You understand? So the Ravid will argue with the Rambam and say there's no problem with Ger Toshav today. The only Ger Toshav not today is Jubilee, type 1. So by the Ravid, is there Ger Toshav today? For all intents and purposes, even if not the highest level, yes. So highest level, no. Practical level, yes. Rambam would say Ger Toshav through Kabbalah is not today, type 1. Now here's where we get into the essence of Brisk. Brisk is Svei Dinim, 2 laws. Ger Toshav has 2 laws, or better yet, Kabbalah. There are 2 aspects of Kabbalah. There's Kabbalah of Jubilee and Kabbalah non-Jubilee, type 1. There's Kabbalah Jubilee and Kabbalah non-Jubilee. Jacques, are you allowed to take Kabbalah Jubilee today? No. Jacques, do I have a right to make you make Kabbalah Jubilee today? No. Jacques, do I have the right to make you take a Kabbalah of any sense today? No. Jacques, are you allowed to take a non-Jubilee Kabbalah today? Yes. So there are Svei Dinim to Kabbalah. And the Brisker Rav showed that the Rambam, the higher level, Lecharchila for Jacques, doesn't exist today in Svei Dinim. But let's bring in to see, does the Brisker Rav allow us to make Kabbalah today that's not Jubilee? Vehine Gefi Hadar, what is that? Let's say, Rosh Tevis. Medivrei Adidi. Gvi Hachinam Medivrei Adidi. Hu Shalo Kul Iker Hach Milsa, the Kabbalah Zo Mahi. Again, the Brisker Rav is on it. No one says there's no Ger Toshav today. Repeat. Nobody, even the Rambam. Jacques, what does the Rambam say? Does he say there's no Ger Toshav today? Does he say there's no Ger Toshav today? No. What does he say? Anybody, go ahead and feel free to type. What does the Rambam in Hilchos Asuri Bia 14:8 say? Let's go. It says we're not Makablin. Type 1. We're not Makablin. Type 1. That means I don't have the right to make you take Kabbalah, and you cannot take a Jubilee Kabbalah. No one says there's no Ger Toshav. In that case, stop talking about Ger Toshav. In that case, start talking about Kabbalah. And what is the question? Why is there no Kabbalah today, outside of we don't go around converting people, so to speak? Because we don't know what Kabbalah gives you. Type 1. But that Kabbalah is Jubilee Kabbalah, type 1. We don't know what Lecharchila Kabbalah is. What are you getting for that? We don't know. Now, in the time of Jubilee, we'll just allow you to take Kabbalah, or we'll make you take Kabbalah, and then you get everything. So it's not a problem in Jubilee, is it? It's not a problem in Jubilee, is it? 2. But today, it's a problem because we don't know what Kabbalah brings you. Type 1. So therefore, the only question is, what is Kabbalah? Type 1. Better yet, another question is, are we allowed to take Kabbalah today? That's not Jubilee? Okay, so we're allowed to take it. We don't know what it is. Therefore, the question becomes, what is it? Type 1. And the question really becomes, okay, if we don't know exactly what it is, at least what is it? What is it at the very least? At the very least, why am I taking Kabbalah? Is that your question? Because even Ask Noah will let you take Kabbalah. And therefore, the Brisker Rav agrees and says, let's find out what Kabbalah is on the lowest common denominator. Some people will say that it's all about the world to come, right? Type 1. So let's throw them a bone as well. If we can show with this Kabbalah that there's the world to come, have we at least solved every tangible riddle that is in the playing field, that is non-Jubilee? The Kabbalah is Zomai. Keep on the Kabbalah Mechoyev Oimehu B'zeh. Ulam Nira She'ein Zeh Kashik Glad. Ahari B'divrei Rambam Avoyer the Stav and Moshe Mabig Avoyer. The Chov is Kol Boye Oyam Makabo Aleim Sheva Mitzvot Shnesavu B'Ninoy V'Im Lo Yikabo L'Hoyrik. Moses has commanded us to make the nations take Kabbalah on 7 mitzvahs. Hari the Afogad B'Zayim mitzvahs on and Stavim Yois Adam Arishim V'Noich. Even though, hello, is there audio? Hello. Even though the nations are commanded on 7 laws from Adam and Noach, type 1. And now Moses is commanding from Sinai on the perpetuation of the 7 mitzvahs that were never taken away from you. If you are not Jewish, either before Sinai, at Sinai, or after Sinai, are you commanded in 7 laws? Okay, but Moses added something, correct? Some kind of Kabbalah, correct? It's not enough after Sinai that you just don't transgress 7 laws. You have to accept with Kabbalah the 7 laws. Otherwise, it's a death penalty. Now, do we execute today? No. But does that mean God wants the nations, just like we say a goy that keeps Shabbos is chayav misa, a goy that keeps Shabbos is killed? Do we actually kill that person? Or are we saying is guilty by the hands of heaven? So to here, in a time where there's no based in, do you want to be on God's good side or bad side? So from after the time of Sinai, and the 7 laws are still incumbent and nothing changed. You have 7 laws, and you perform them, and you do them. It is not enough that you just do them. The Jewish people are then commanded to encourage, at the strongest level, Kabbalah by the nations. We don't make you take Kabbalah, but we have in a separate Svei Dinim, Lechofis Kobayei Oilam, to make you take the 7 laws seriously. You want the nations to seriously take on 7. What is that called? It's called you need to seriously take on the 7. And the nations then would say, you know what? I should probably take Kabbalah. The Gama Hilchus, Halacha Yud Aleph, the next Halacha, Sharm La'inyan Zeh Shachasidim was Ha'olam Yesh L'Chelak Ha'olam. The very next Halacha, if the nations do this, they are Chassidim Ha'olam, and they have a portion in the world to come. All who have Kabbalah on 7 and are careful to do them, it's not enough that you just do them, but you have Kabbalah. And if you don't have Kabbalah, you are not called Chassidim Ha'olam. Now that is a completely different view from Chabad. Ask Noah, Rabbi Weiner. Rabbi Weiner wants to say that even without Kabbalah, you're a chassid if you do them correctly. The Brisker Rav says only with Kabbalah and doing them correctly, obviously that's the Kabbalah, then you're called a chassid. The Gama Kabbalah Tzrichel Yilin Sheyakayim Ayisam Bishvil Shehank Suvim B'Torah Al Yedei Moshe Rabbeinu. Along with the intention, you have to do it because Moses said so in Torah. And this is according to the Rambam there. All of this is a time from Sinai on the nations for them to take on themselves. We do not make you. You are to do it yourself. And look in the Ritva in Makkas 9a, who wrote Ger Toshav is someone who is Kabbalad and based in Yisrael, the Kayim 7 mitzvahs of Bnei Noach, the Kevan Shekablam are based in Hunikra Bezayin mitzvahs, Elu Mitzvah V'Aisik. If you do this, you're called commanded in doing, and you have schar for your mitzvahs, reward for the mitzvahs. We're going to go into what schar mitzvahs means. And a Ben Noach is someone who does not accept them properly and based in, but rather he does them himself, and he's judged like one who is not commanded in doing. Remember our famous Rambam, Hilchos Melachim 10:10? A Ben Noach can keep any mitzvah in the Torah? Guess who that is? It is a person who simply lacks a proper Kabbalah, a non-proper Ger Toshav, is why it's called Ben Noach. And this is written about in Habakkuk 3:6, that God removed the status of the non-Jews at Sinai, thereby they can restore the status with Kabbalah. It's best to do Kabbalah in person. Hari lehedya desert rikin Kabbalah Zion mitzvah shtaba lein kemedinim niskash b'shas b'tor v'hulu b'chol klal near v'yeter goyim damina v'bava kama de'emen v'hiter lehen. All right, he's quoting Bava Kama and Avodah Zarah and Habakkuk, which we're going to do now. And the final words of the Grees, the Brisker Rav, pay attention. The words of the Rambam and Hilchos Malachim that you wrote to me, he says to some of the person that wrote the question, Ella, rather they should be like a Yisrael, a kol devor, or killed. The Rambam says, by ger, is like a Jew in every way, or he's killed. And he says, this is very weird. That behold there, if he's a full convert, he's already a total Jew in every way. And what is between him and the rest of the Jews? And if you want to say he's obligated to die because of whatever thing, where do we see such a thing? What he's talking about is a ger tzedek non-Jew. That if you say a ger tzedek is only a convert, the Rambam makes no sense. But if you say ger tzedek can be also a non-Jew, then there's a difference in din between a full Jew and a non-full Jew, ger tzedek. That, he says, the end of the matter is the words of the Rambam are very weird. And there's no clear understanding. Those are the words of the Brisker Rav. Now we go into the Brisker Rav again. This is going to be continued next week, by the way. The second part of this year. Brisker Rav, ready? Now, I should probably read the whole thing, you know? Makshima Oilam, Ech Kayim Avram Avinu, Shabbos, Anshlo Nitna. How did Abraham keep Shabbos before it was commanded? Surely he had the din of a ben noyach l'chumra. Abraham was a ben noyach. And we say by the benei noyach, if they keep Shabbos, they're chayav misa. Type 1. Look in the Rambam in Hilchos Malachim, halacha 9. That an akum who keeps Shabbos is chayav misa. Klalo shel davar im anichin oisen lechadish das ulosois mitzvah atzmin levadas. They cannot make their own religion. Ela yamdu b'torah sov lo yaisi v'lo yigver. Hari the ikar iser shel goy sheshevis. Okay, there's an ikar iser shel goy sheshevis. How many of you ever heard of a goy that keeps Shabbos? A goy that keeps Shabbos. Stop. Stop. Let's pretend once upon a time a goy kept Shabbos. Type 1. What did he do? What did he do? What did he do? This is a big chiddush in the Brisker Rav here. He created his own religion. Is that not, that is tight. How does a goy create his own religion? He keeps Shabbos like a Jew. A goy that keeps Shabbos like a Jew, what did he do? He made his own religion. And he did so by commanding in his own heart, "Umitzavim elibo shelo kadas mitzvah Kadosh Baruch Hu." He made it different than the religious commandment of God. All right, so then it goes on. But that's what it is. So when people say that this Ger movement, that they call it, is a new religion, Justin Becker, how do you define making a new religion? By when a goy keeps Shabbos like a Jew. So even if you want to say that these are goyim, even if you want to say that, is anybody keeping Shabbos like a Jew? No. So number one, there's no Shabbos like a Jew. Number two, by definition, it's not in a religion. And with this, you know what? I turned actually to the wrong page. That was apropos. I wasn't supposed to read that. That wasn't part of the curriculum. But you know what? I'm glad we did. That covered that base. I have 2 bookmarks. I did the wrong one. Here we go. And who is look in Deuteronomy 4:8. Omi gadol asher lo chukir shpatim tzadikim kekol Torah zois asher lachin ayta livneichem hayoim. Justin Becker, please post for us Deuteronomy 4:8. And who is great that laws and statutes of tzadikim like this whole Torah that I give before you today, even though that also the B'nai Noach, it is said that 7 mitzvahs in their details and particulars, near the Hine Ksuv Rambam in Hilkos Malachim 8:11, all who accept them, Makabel Zion mitzvahs, and are careful to do them, this is what it means to be Chasidi Amos Olam. Sound familiar? The Yeshol Chelik L'Olam Haba. And there's your answer. With Kabbalah, you get Olam Haba. V'hu shekibel oisav yas oisav b'nei shetil ha'kadosh baruch hu b'Torah v'odina adi Moshe Rabbeinu shebnei Noach mikoden nitztava b'hen. Even though the B'nai Noach were commanded from the days of Adam and Noach, from Moshe Rabbeinu onwards, it's Kabbalah and Olam Haba. Hari da'afal gav the kodemat in Torah ma shekayim b'nei Noach sheva mitzvahs hayam mibnei shenimsar lehem b'Kabbalah b'Adam harishon b'Noach b'chayim b'hem b'hem. Aval achar matan Torah tzrichim lekayim mibnei shenimmaser. Moshe Rabbeinu the mitzvayim hem v'hem. After Matan Torah, Moses' Torah has the keys of understanding laws and mitzvahs. Type 1. Ubediktuk ha-mitzvahs. And in the finer points of the commandments. Belimudim. In their learning, they need to be done right. That's what it means to be taken through Kabbalah. Hain al yedei yud gimel midas, mitzvahs that are done through Kabbalah, i.e. the 7 at least, are learned through 13 principles of learning the Torah. V'zeh lo shayich ela rak al yedei haTorah shenamasur liYisrael. This is only possible in the Torah given to Israel. And with their Kabbalah and learning, then the Ben Noach is obligated to fulfill them in that way. This verse, who is great? Also the B'nai Noach and their Sheva mitzvahs, and in their keeping them that are contingent in Israel. That Israel was given the laws and statutes of Bahoras Din Hukach, and the style of giving over the Torah and clarity of the Din is through Torah Yisrael. So with Kabbalah, the Ben Noach enters into that realm of properly doing the 7 mitzvahs. And as we previously read, that Kabbalah gives you Ger Toshav. The Kabbalah is between you and God, and ideally it is before 3 men of Israel. Jacques, do you remember me saying 20,000 times the only question is we don't understand Kabbalah. That's why your question is not a question. We know that's the question. The whole question is, how do you take Kabbalah? That's why the Rogatchover Gaon is brought in the world of the Ger, says that when there is no Kabbalah, because you simply don't have it accessible or we don't have a way to do it, then it's a Ben Noach status, not Ger Toshav, but it's as if they're Ger Toshav where it is applicable today. Meaning, if you are only held back because Kabbalah is not available, then even though you don't call Ger Toshav, you can still function through Din Ger Toshav. I.e., if you have Kabbalah, then no one can argue you're called Ger Toshav. So that's another way of saying that the Brisker Rav's question, we don't understand really what is the Kabbalah, how to do it, blah, blah, blah. So Jacques Bedi-Evid, if you have Kabbalah yourself, is it enough between you and God? In a perfect world, Jacques, could you have a perfect Kabbalah, Lechar Chila, if Eliyahu Navi came and told you how to do that Kabbalah, and 3 Jews? So you're probably somewhere in the middle. Correct? Yes. So Bedi-Evid, you have Olam Haba, you do your 7 mitzvahs, and as we're doing. Is it preferable to do it before 3 Jews? It is preferable. All you're doing is strengthening the Kabbalah. Jacques, how do you understand Jubilee? That's called the strongest possible Kabbalah. So there's something called strong Kabbalah and weak Kabbalah. Lechar Chila and Bedi-Evid. That's all. Amar li Maran, a going I've based in the Brisk, the Zatzal, every question that there is to a Ben Noach and the Inyan of Sheva Mitzvahs, it is on them to ask Dafka by the Chachmei Yisrael. And this is the verse 4:6, that their wisdom and understanding will be displayed in the eyes of the nations. That is to say that this verse is not talking about how they keep their mitzvahs, that we already say that they're commanded in 7 mitzvahs. Rather, only that the power to rule halacha is what is the subject between the Ben Noach asking the sage of Israel and a conclusion being ruled through learning Torah. Thank you for listening.